The 2015 NBA draft is a weird one. It started out with an absolute stud at the top in Karl-Anthony Towns. DAngelo Russell had an up and down career at the start in LA, but rejuvenated it in Brooklyn and is playing well for the Timberwolves at the moment. Jahlil Okafor at 3 looked really good at the start of his career, mainly in his rookie season. Then he fizzled out and wasn't a good pick for the Sixers. KP at 4, Kristaps Porzingis to the Knicks, was the best pick that they have made in the 21st century at the time. And then he ends up getting traded a few years later, and he tore his ACL at one point. And the draft, honestly, isn't very good. Like, I've done a 2016, 17, 18 redraft so far, and this is by far the worst age draft out of the 4 we have done. So what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Yeah, we are going to be redrafting the 2015 draft. Feel free to drop a thumbs up if you guys are still enjoying these. I know it's been a little bit since I posted the 2016 redraft. Let me know in the comments, though, what you agree with, disagree with. I do have 15 picks being made in this draft. I have 3 honorable mentions. And, like, it's crazy. Like, the 15th pick, I think, in my 2018 redraft was Mitchell Robinson, who's a pretty good player. And my 15th pick here, I don't know. It's just not as sexy in this draft. But, yeah, we'll start off with my 3 honorable mentions. First one is Frank Kaminsky, who originally went 9th to the Charlotte Hornets. He was all right there, just not as good as the top 10 pick you'd want him to be. The next honorable mention is Willie Cauley-Stein, who's had a long career in the league, mainly as a backup center, but he was the 6th overall pick to the Sacramento Kings. Just this was part of the Kings' awful drafting history post DeMarcus Cousins and before De'Aaron Fox in 2017. And then my other honorable mention is Pat Connaughton, who technically went to the Brooklyn Nets at 41. And he's been a pretty good player for the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't know if he'd be as good if he wasn't on the Bucks, but he's been a good shooter for them and pretty much a good wing, like off the bench and fringe starter guy. But yeah, he's going to be my 3rd and final honorable mention. So coming in at 15, we have Rashawn Holmes to the Atlanta Hawks. This was Kelly Oubre originally, but was traded on draft night. And yeah, Rashawn Holmes was a 2nd round pick, 37th overall, part of the trust the process Sixers. He was all right in Philly. He bounced around a little bit. He got a new extension from Sacramento, and he's a pretty solid center. Wouldn't really say that he's a good enough center to be starting caliber on a championship team. Maybe if he was on like the 2016 Cavs or the 2016 Warriors, he could be the starting center on a championship team there. But you're not really building around Rashawn Holmes, but he's a fine backup center. He comes in at 15. At 14, we have the OKC Thunder, who originally took Cameron Payne, getting Larry Nance Jr., who originally went 27 to the Lakers. Nance at one point was like, I don't know, he was just talked about as one of the more underrated big men in the league, and that's why the Portland Trailblazers gave up a 1st round pick for him. I believe that was the 2020 offseason. And yeah, going into the 2021 season, and they probably regret that. And he's a fine backup big. He was just really talked about as like one of the best pick and roll players in the league, a great defender, which he still is a solid player at those 2 specific aspects of the game. But he's just really somebody that you really don't want to give up a future 1st round pick for. But he's coming in at 14. Coming in at 13, we have the player that went at 30th here in this draft, Kevon Looney. Yeah, he went to the Warriors originally at 30th, but he's going to be going 13 to the Phoenix Suns. Looney is like similar to Pat Connaughton. Will he, or would he be as good as he is right now if he didn't play for the Warriors? He didn't get to play with great players like Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, be coached under Steve Kerr, and be part of like the most successful team of the 21st century. I don't know, or one of the more successful teams of the 21st century. But Kevon Looney was a beast last year in the playoffs and in the finals, so he definitely deserves to be coming here at 13 to the Suns. Coming in at number 12, we have the Utah Jazz selecting Tyus Jones, who was a point guard at Duke. Jones originally went 24th to the Cavs, but was traded eventually, and I honestly thought that the Grizzlies were going to have to let Tyus Jones walk. I thought a team was going to pay him. I mean, that team was the Memphis Grizzlies, and he is like the picture-perfect floor general backup point guard. I think he's going to have a very long career in this league. You can look at guys like Ricky Rubio, TJ McConnell, and Tyus Jones kind of in that category, that these are the good backup point guards, like DeLon Wright. Even like Kendrick Nunn could be like that someday if he stays healthy enough. But these guys are valuable if you're like semi-efficient, you're a good playmaker, you play good defense, you know how to slow the game down. You know, don't let your team go from like that's down by 3 when the starters go out to being down by 10, but they can keep it kind of close. That's what Tyus Jones kind of is, and he's going to come in at number 12 in the redraft to the Jazz. They originally took Trey Lyles, so definitely a better pick. Coming in at 11, we have the Indiana Pacers selecting Josh Richardson, who was the 40th pick in this draft that went to the Miami Heat. And Richardson has had a very weird career, but at least it's been successful so far. So at one point, Josh Richardson was coming off a 16-point season for the Miami Heat in 2019, and we were talking about him like not the successor to Dwayne Wade, but he's going to be like the next guy you kind of build around in Miami, because he was 25 when he came off that very good season in 2019, or at least a solid year for them. And then he gets traded in the sign and trade for Jimmy Butler, which obviously makes sense for Miami to do. You definitely have Jimmy Butler over Josh Richardson, so you're like, Philly, he's going to be a guy like you're not really losing much after moving on from Jimmy Butler. And then his numbers diminished. I mean, that made sense, playing along with Simmons and Embiid and Tobias Harris. And then he ends up in Dallas, traded for Seth Curry. Then he ends up in Boston. Then he ends up in San Antonio. So yeah, Josh Richardson has had a weird career over the last like 3 seasons, because I thought at one point he could have been a top 25, top 35, 40 guy in this league, and he really never amounted to that. But he's coming in at number 11 to the Pacers, and they originally took Miles Turner with this pick, so not as like an upgrade as some of these other picks. Coming in at number 10, we have Kelly Oubre going to the Miami Heat, who originally took Justice Winslow, and it's kind of weird when Miami doesn't make a great pick. But yeah, Oubre is very similar to Josh Richardson. Like at one point you're like, this guy could be like a legit scorer in this league. It could be like a guy that could be top 25 in scoring, or at least be that on a consistent basis. In like 2020, he did average 18 points for the Phoenix Suns, but they rightfully did made the right move trading him for Chris Paul. He bounced around in Golden State, in Charlotte. He'll be there next year in Charlotte as well. He's been in Washington, was the team that traded for his draft rights on draft night. And Kelly Oubre, he's been a fine scorer. He's not somebody that you ended up building around, but he's a nice kind of bench guy, and I think he could be a 6th man of the year still at this point in his career. He's only 27, or he's about to be 27. I stand corrected. Man, a lot of weird careers so far. So coming in at pick 9 to the Charlotte Hornets is Montrezl Harrell, the team he played for last year. But yeah, like Montrezl Harrell was like the best 6th man in the league for 2 seasons, where he averaged like 16 points in 2019. He averaged about 18 points in 2020, won a 6th man of the year award in 2020, but he's kind of fizzled off. Like, he's not a great defender. We know that he's undersized for the position at the 5, and he's not really a shooter to be a power forward. He's going to be on the Philadelphia 76ers this year, so we'll see how he does. But yeah, an upgrade over Frank the Tank, who originally went 9 to the Hornets. Coming in, we have Bobby Portis, who's kind of like on a reverse trajectory than some of these guys. Like, he started off his career like, all right, this guy's really not that good. Even when he got paid like a lot of money in New York, where he averaged 10 points for them, we're like, how is this guy like still getting paid like this? But Bobby Portis, like DAngelo Russell, who I mentioned earlier in Brooklyn. But yeah, he kind of revitalized his career in Milwaukee. He helped them win a championship in 2021. He was a 14-point per game scorer on 39% from 3 for the Bucks in 2022. He turned into a great front court player, and he's going to the Pistons at 8 in this redraft. They originally got Stanley Johnson, so that's an upgrade. The Denver Nuggets. At number 7, they originally took somebody that I absolutely loved in this draft, Emmanuel Mudiay. That's who I wanted the Knicks to take at 4. And they end up in this redraft getting Norman Powell, who went 46th in this draft, and he started off his career not really doing all that much in Toronto. And then when 2020 came around, he turned into like a 16-point per game scorer and has been a high teens, low 20s scorer since then. And he's really good right now for the LA Clippers. He was traded for Gary Trent about a year and a half ago, and this is definitely an upgrade over Emmanuel Mudiay for the Nuggets. I mean, I mentioned it before, number 6 for the Kings. They originally took Willie Cauley-Stein. Wasn't a great pick there, so they're going to get an upgrade with Terry Rozier here. Rozier originally went 16th to the Boston Celtics. Like Norman Powell, he really didn't do much in the first couple years of his career. He had a pretty good 2018, took a step back in 2019, but when he got traded in that sign and trade for Kemba Walker, he's been really good in Charlotte. And it's funny because back when that 3-team trade happened with Charlotte and Boston, and I believe it involved Kyrie and the Nets, or I forget the 3rd team in there, we're like, what is Charlotte doing? They're letting their like franchise guy Kemba Walker walk. No pun intended. And yeah, Rozier has been much better for Charlotte than Kemba was for Boston, and he's still there. He's still a great scorer for them, and he's one of the league's best 3-point shooters. All right, we are into the top 5. At number 5, the Orlando Magic originally took Mario Hezonja. That didn't work out at all, so they're going to be taking Miles Turner here. Like I mentioned earlier, Turner went 11th, and he's been one of the best defensive players in this class. You could say he's been the best shot blocker, the best rim protector in this class. He's never scored below 10 points a night in his career. His 3-point shooting has been up and has been down. It was kind of better a few years ago than it is right now, and he's a great shot blocker, as I just mentioned, and he's definitely warrant of a top 5 pick in this draft. But I don't know if he ends up being that guy you build around, you know? Coming in at number 4, the New York Knicks. They're going to be taking DAngelo Russell, who originally went 2nd in this draft to the Lakers. We all know that the Knicks took Kristaps Porzingis here at 4, but he's going to go higher, obviously. But that is a debate, like, if you want Russell or Porzingis up higher. But yeah, Russell wasn't great in LA to start off his career. He wasn't that efficient. His three-point shot came and went, and then he got traded in a pretty shocking trade because LA really wanted to get off of Mozgov's contract, so they packaged Mozgov and D'Lo to get Brook Lopez. I mean, they ended up drafting Lonzo Ball anyway. Russell played very well in Brooklyn. He's probably the reason they got KD and Kyrie, for better or for worse, however you look at it. He wasn't the best in Golden State because he was kind of like putting up stats on a bad team, but he's been solid for Minnesota as like their point guard. I'm excited to see him with Rudy Gobert this year. He's going in at number 4 to the Knicks in the redraft. So yeah, I just mentioned him. Kristaps Porzingis is coming in at number 3 to the Sixers. You could have him here or D'Lo, but I'm just imagining an Embiid Kristaps frontcourt. Now that would be a very injury-prone frontcourt, but man, that would have been fun to watch at one point. Just having Embiid and Kristaps just blocking shots left and right, spacing the floor off each other, post moves left and right. It would just been so much fun to watch. That would have been a cool what if in NBA history. Coming in at number 2, drum roll please, and yes, it is going to be Karl Anthony Towns to the LA Lakers. I don't have him going number 1 in this redraft. You could have him going number 1. That'd be fine with me, but there's really no explanation for Cat to be in the top 2. Like, he is unbelievable. One of the best offensive centers of this century. One of the best offensive centers, combined with just his shooting ability, because he's just been an elite 3-point shooter. Like I mentioned, Terry Rozier's an elite 3-point shooter. Cat's kind of better, and he's a center. But yeah, he's gonna be a Laker here in the redraft. If you don't want him here, that's fine. Because at number 1 to the Minnesota Timberwolves in the redraft, he went 13th to the Suns originally. It's Devin Booker. I'm pretty sure that Devin Booker didn't start a game, or he at least wasn't the consistent starter for the Kentucky Wildcats the season prior, because they had Cat, Trey Lyles, that whole team. And yeah, Devin Booker, I think, just edges out Cat slightly just because of the success he has had. Now you could say that's all because of Chris Paul or something like that, or at least the help of Chris Paul that Cat never had. But yeah, Booker's been to a finals. He's been one of the best shooting guards in the league. You could say he's the best shooting guard in the league right now. An elite shooter, and his defense has been improving. Meant to mention that because Cat's defense hasn't been improving too much. We'll see how he is next to Gobert. But yeah, Booker, I would build around slightly more than I would build around Cat. That's why he's going at number 1 in the 2015 redraft to the Minnesota Timberwolves. So yeah, that is going to be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. Drop a like if you did. Let me know down below. Do you have Cat at number 1 or do you have Devin Booker at number 1? And yeah, just let me know if you guys want to see the 2014 redraft. That one would be fun. That's featuring guys like Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic, as well as Andrew Wiggins. But yeah, I love you guys. I'll catch you all on the next one. Peace.